I mix all my own colors of paint, and I don't use the classical range of primaries. I use what's called CMYK, which is cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. That's a holdover from my career, my 20-year career as a graphic designer. And that just over time became my preferred language in color mixing. When I started painting full time, I went back to the more traditional ways of mixing colors, but I felt like I was always translating. So I tried CMYK, and I've stuck with it ever since. Underneath, there's wildness under there. Basically, I'm just throwing the paint. There is no discipline at all at that stage. But here at the surface, I have to be very careful in getting things smooth and paying attention to lines that I have drawn. So I guess there's a time to finesse and a time to make a mess. The Measy series came along very recently, and it's kind of a departure for me in that it's narrative and it's a bit political and it's humorous, actually. So the narrative is where I'm really jazzed about this series. I have these little characters. They're almost figurative. They're not quite. They're very abstract little beep bop characters, and they don't have a lot of respect for each other. I'm getting a lot of my inspiration for these from politics, obviously, today's politics. And actually, for direct material, I get a lot of inspiration from my cats. They don't get along. The way that I do these is I paint a layer underneath, and this is the way I do a lot of paintings. Just pure intuition, lots and lots of chaos, and then I put the characters on top of that, and then I make lots and lots of obliterations. And the real finesse is in finding how much I can get rid of. And that actually goes for a lot of my paintings and always has. I've always painted color underneath landscape, different, field paintings underneath landscape paintings. And I continue to layer and layer and layer. And I like to provide little windows in my work so that you can see through the top, into layers and layers deeper. Even my representational work has always been really representational-ish. I always had that push toward abstraction in my work. I try to teach my students that, to give them that permission to paint not necessarily exactly what they see. And in class, we would work from photographs, and it's hard to teach that when there's a photograph in front of a person, to get people past the point of thinking that the photograph was the thing that was right, and you needed to make the painting agree with the photograph. And the photo isn't even real. It's just a second, and that's not even how our eyes really see. The world doesn't stay put in your eyes, and your eyes don't stay still. Our experience in life isn't cohesive. I called my class "The Sky is Not Blue," and people really responded to that. They loved that. It either tickled them or it annoyed them. So many of them came up after and said, I never really noticed the sky before. And I couldn't believe that I could open their eyes like that. It took so little. I would show them not only the actual sky, but famous paintings, and it's amazing how many of those skies, they're brown or yellow or gray, and it doesn't matter the color. You need to get the value to balance for you, and light is distance, and once you get that, it's kind of like you believe it. For a while, I thought, and people were always telling me, that you had to do one thing and be recognizable for a specific style. And I got really interested in landscapes, and I'm a Maine transplant, and I am in love with the Maine landscape. So for many years, that was enough to keep me going. And so I established the style that was loosely based on landscape. And so people would tell me that's what I needed to do, and I was happy to do. So a lot of people would come and take my class because they wanted to paint the landscape more loosely. Many of them were already painting and interested in landscape, but they took my class because they wanted to loosen up. And that's what my class became. The abstractness of the landscape during that time took kind of a back seat. I was always pushing it. I was always talking about abstract principles, but my class became primarily a landscape class. And that was a wonderful time, and I got so much out of it personally and professionally. Teaching takes so much energy, but I would always then get a little bit back, just pour energy into it and get just that little bit much more back. And then one morning after like 10 years, I woke up and I thought, I think I might be done. And I need to do my own stuff. I needed to evolve.